Welcome to the Tuesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Tuesday morning. Hey Astro. Hey Decapolion. Liking the music? Thank you, I appreciate it. Fun fact about the actual soundtrack. Here, I'll actually show you guys where that soundtrack comes from. Let's see if I can get it up. Subscriptions. No, I don't want to see... See if I can find it. Oh, you know what? Maybe it's in my channel? No. Channels. Aha. Hey, Skidded here. How's it going? Morning. So if you guys are interested in seeing the channel that did the intro music for the stream, I'll post it, or I'll bring it up in just a second. So yesterday was a pretty good day off. I appreciate everybody that stopped by. Thank you guys. The amount of support and love was just amazing. Thank you so much for all the raids. We got like back-to-back raids, which was pretty cool. Pretty poggers. Pretty poggers, I would say. So a quick thank you to Yeepo People, which is, I believe, also not only a streamer, which I did not know until yesterday, but one of Tina's mods, I think. I think she's on break, or she has been on break for a bit, so I hope she's doing alright. We also got a raid from Azure Scapegoat, a constant friend of the Bleep Blop Ben channel. Class time with a raid with Kenzo. Appreciate that. There's a chap with another raid yesterday. I appreciate that. I just want to reiterate all the love. Thank you so much. I mean, it was just back to back, so I really appreciate all that support. USA Hole with the raid, kicking things off yesterday, or Saturday, I should say. Sorry, not yesterday. Saturday for Saturday. Wait, no, it was yesterday. Yeah, it was. Sorry, I'm getting my days confused because yesterday I had a day off, so I'm still in weekend mode. I do not want to go back to work today. Yeah, it was a lot of raids and a big news day. Yeah, but we got through it. Thank you, Tendera, for stopping by, and hope you're having an awesome morning. Hope everyone's grabbing their favorite beverage, tea, coffee, water, whatever it is, because we got a few things to go through today. Yeah, lots of stuff just happening back to back. More notably, Steve Bannon turned himself in for disobeying subpoenas, and Alex Jones lost his entire court cases. Nice meme. Alright folks, we got a gauntlet to run through. We got plenty of stuff to talk about, so let's get through some of it. First and foremost though, Astro brought up the fact that they really like the intro music. Well, if you like the intro music and you want to help support a small artist, consider checking out this channel here. Consider subscribing to this channel. They were kind enough to, this is a friend of mine. They were kind enough to make sure that, they were kind enough to let me use their music. So make sure you show them some love and subscribe to their channel. Jerome Powell replaced? What? Is that breaking news? Hey, spread it forward. I think so. Yeah, I was trying to look at it. I didn't see any headlines, but I'm going to assume that this is probably just recent right now. If you find something, post it. I was looking through the headlines and I don't see anything. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed the intro music and want to vibe out to these beats, feel free to subscribe, Mikey-P, and I'll post the link in chat. I'm gonna post it here. There you go. I wish we can vote on Biden's nominations. Oh man. I mean, that would be cool. I don't know how the logistics would work on that, but that would be cool. If we could actually... well, maybe not so much like have an entire election over it, but maybe we can, as a citizenry, can file a petition to recall. And if that petition to recall gets an overwhelming majority, then they have to consider those options to rescind nomination or to change the person. Because that would be cool, right? That would be a little bit... I think that would be like something that we can just do. And I think that's fair. I think that's fair. If like a majority of the people sign like a petition for against a nominee, then the executive has to reconsider or at least put that into the equation. And yeah, that could be an option. It's kind of like the ability to recall an elected official, but kind of. Looks like the person Biden's considering would be more of the same. I mean, that would not surprise me. And that would not surprise me at all. That would not surprise me at all. Alright, let's do one for the memes. Hundreds of QAnon supporters are back in Dallas's Dealey Plaza waiting JFK Jr.'s return, singing "We Are the World." I don't know if whether I should probably laugh or cry. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure if I should laugh or if I should cry, because there's a deep, disturbing, this is a deeply disturbing amount of people. Hundreds of people. It's not just like a handful of people. It's not just just dozen of people who are being weird. No, it's hundreds. It's hundreds of them. Which is worrying to say the least, I guess. Yikes. That is scary AF, not gonna lie. Yeah, it is disturbing. It's official, folks. I've signed a bipartisan infrastructure deal into law. So this is official. Yesterday. The bipartisan, I think, went 1 trillion, was it? Or I forget. It is official. Why? In this day and age, dumb people shouldn't scare us as much as they have the power to. Wait, hold on. Let me reread that. In this day and age, dumb people shouldn't scare us as much as they have the power to. I'm not getting it. Well, the reason why it's scary, in my opinion, the reason why it's scary is because some of them have managed to ascend into positions of power. You see your Marjorie Taylor Greens. But I'm sure some are fine people, right? The point being is, some do get into a position of power where they have control of decisions, which is not something I'm comfortable with, to say the least. It's official, folks. I've signed the bipartisan infrastructure bill into law. So the headline is, government finally does what they were supposed to do decades ago. Yay.
Please clap.
They are scary because they actually believe some crazy magic or conspiracy, some fantastical but also bigoted and violent, so they seem to multiply like rabbits. Yeah, the thing is, like, that's pretty much how cults kind of work, right? That's kind of how cults work, right? And do not be mistaken, this can happen to anybody. Despite your level of education, despite your ability to be a logical person, you too can fall into this type of cult, you know? It can literally happen. Anybody can technically be radicalized like this, right? They are nurses and cops and store managers and neighbors, and that's why it scares me. Yeah, like, you know, for example, like nurses and doctors who should be pretty logical, pretty rational, can fall into cult-like behavior. Anyways, folks. So yeah, the meme story, hundreds of these folks are just standing there, waiting for something that isn't going to happen. And hinging on the word of this one guy. I forget his name, it starts with a P. We read about him yesterday. Just waiting on the word of that one guy, who apparently was also telling people to go see the Rolling Stones. So bizarre. So bizarre. Alright, folks. Because I don't think I've given enough love to this story, I haven't talked about much. Well, not enough, I should say. There have been several strikes, and certainly ongoing strikes at this time across the country. And Starbucks, just a couple of days ago, I think last week, looks like it looks like they're trying to engage in union busting activity. This is from a more perfect union, not to be confused with the right-wing nut on Twitch.
Hey there, partners. Tatiana here. I am a proud 9-year Starbucks partner. And you know, here at Starbucks, your voice...
Stop.
Hey there, partners. Tatiana here. I am a proud 9-year Starbucks partner. And you know, here at Starbucks, your voice has always mattered. And the days ahead will be no different. So let's talk about it. Partners, you're going to be faced with a very difficult decision. Do you wish to continue to have your voice used independently? Or do you want your voice to be represented by a union? Because that's exactly what the Nlrb is asking you. So we want to make sure that every single voice is heard and every partner has voted. So with that being said, our commitment to you is to make sure you know exactly what to do for the Nlrb mail-in ballot. So without further ado, let's get into it. First, you'll receive a manila envelope from the National Labor Relations Board. Open the envelope, and inside, you should have 4 items: instructions on how to vote, a ballot, a blue envelope, and a yellow envelope. The ballot has 2 choices. Vote no if you want to continue your direct relationship with Starbucks and pay no dues to the union. Vote yes if you want to pay dues and have a union represent you.
Oh my God.
Place an X in the box of your choice and make no other marks on the ballot.
Oh my God. This is so blatant. Jesus Christ. This is so blatant. You don't want to pay union dues, right? So just keep being exploited. Exactly. Hey, Agonize. Bet this actor is in a union. True.
You voted, fold the ballot, and place it in a blue envelope.
Jesus
Do
Christ.
not write on this envelope. Now place the blue envelope in the yellow envelope and seal it. Find the signature line and sign across that line. It's so important you sign the envelope. Don't print your name because the Nlrb needs an official signature from you. The last step is putting the yellow envelope into the mail. You can do this from your home, post office, or any official U.S. Postal Service mailbox. You don't need a stamp because it's already prepaid by the Nlrb. Mail your ballot as early as possible to ensure it gets to the Nlrb in time. Partners, if you have not received a ballot or need a replacement for whatever reason, call the number on the screen and let them know that you are a Starbucks partner and need a replacement ballot. The Nlrb will mail another ballot to your home. Here are important dates for you to remember, so take that screenshot for future reference. Thank you so much, partners, for your time and for using your voice. This vote is personal and it's private. It's a secret ballot. So don't let anyone make the decision for you.
Except, isn't that what you're trying to do? Wait. Wait. Hold on. Oh man. Nice meme. So I'm not telling you, you shouldn't make the decision by yourself, but also make sure you vote no because, what? They're literally telling you how to vote. This entire video is telling you how to vote. Hey, James Napper. I think a lot of companies will start to push back against unions just now because they know that there's momentum behind worker activism for the first time since immediately after the 2008 crash, but the post-lockdown has made them arguably even stronger. Yeah, that's right. I think that, yes, that is true, but generally speaking, companies have always been incredibly anti-union. It's just that now, they're facing a lot of pushback, like you said. This should be illegal? I believe it is. I believe Starbucks has engaged in illegal union-busting activities. I saw a pic of anti-union propaganda in the places of inside of PBEs in factory. Oh, placed in a factory. Yikes. Yeah, Agonize. I think that this actor is probably on probably union. There's a lot of actors that are unionized through SAG-AFTRA.
Your voice matters.
Thanks, Tatiana, for teaching us, and we're ready to go. Partners MK here. Thank you so much for participating and watching this video. I'm here today to make sure that you hear from me that I want each of your voices to be heard. I'm asking you to vote, and I'm asking you to vote no, because I believe that we...
Nobody should tell you... Wait, hold on. This is ridiculous. Wait.
Nlrb will mail another ballot to your home. Here are important dates for you to remember, so take that screenshot for future reference. Thank you so much, partners, for your time and for using your voice. This vote is personal and it's private. It's a secret ballot. So don't let anyone make the decision for you.
Okay.
Your voice matters.
Thanks, Tatiana, for teaching us, and we're ready to go. Partners MK here. Thank you so much for participating and watching this video. I'm here today to make sure that you hear from me that I want each of your voices to be heard. I'm asking you to vote, and I'm asking you to vote no.
But, nobody should tell you how to vote. No, like it said, vote no on the inside of workers' PPE masks? Yikes. What? Oh, I see. Okay, now I got it. Yeah. But you can trust me because I'm on a video. True. Yeah, so, nobody should be influencing you on how to vote. Nobody should tell you how to vote. But also, make sure you vote no.
Because I believe that we together can create Starbucks experience like nowhere else. Because we will work shoulder to shoulder and create something that all of you are ready for. And I'll be here with you. If you're not sure that you want union representing you and speaking for you, vote no. I believe that together we can create the best Starbucks experience.
Press X to doubt.
Partners.
Jesus, this was gross. This was absolutely gross. Starbucks just used its emergency text service to send workers in Buffalo a 3.5-minute anti-union video on the same day that their union election starts. This company, the company's already facing Nlrb charges that use illegal intimidation and surveillance to block the union. Yeah. Cool. Nice meme. Nice meme. This is so brazen. Hey, Alio, how's it going? This should be absolutely illegal for an employer to communicate anything that would impact an employee's decision to support or not support a union. Except it is, but punishable by fine means it's just a cost of business, right? Anyways, folks, I think that
shot for future ref.
November 22nd. These are important dates. December 3rd, if you are, if this applies to you for the unionization of Starbucks, make sure that you send in your mail-in ballot by that date. And if you haven't already received a ballot, make sure that by November 22nd, you get your replacement ballot, which is next week, I believe. It was HelloFresh that had the anti-union PPEs. Yikes. Yikes. Looks like Starbucks was union busting, but what do I know? No, this is blatant. This is blatant. This was sent to employees by text. This video was sent to employees by text. Anyways, if this applies to you and you are and this is applicable, make sure that you do what you gotta do here, and never let a company bully you. If you have the option of unionizing, take it. Never let a company bully you. Another interesting thing about the unions, it's a partisan distribution. Obviously, we talk a bit more. Obviously, we talk a bit and have lately about polarization, increasing policy gridlock, disconnect between voters and policy. You know, a time when there's less polarization, less gridlock, and more policy aligned. The normal people, the 50s and 60s, was higher. The amount of Republicans who approved unions and were unionized. Yeah, yeah, because as this song goes, union makes us strong. The reason why is because more people are together and talking to each other and things like that. And obviously, the more workers stand shoulder to shoulder, the more solidarity they have. And of course, that it kind of like, what's the word? It gives a sense of like camaraderie. What was that? Was that a national Starbucks union push? That's actually a good question. Oh, Buffalo. Buffalo. If you unionize Republican voters, you could arguably make America a bit more fair, even without them switching their vote. Well, yeah, because I mean, regardless, if you are all in a union, and regardless of how you, regardless of your registration, a union is a union, right? So yeah, you guys are going to be standing in solidarity to get the best deal possible. So yeah, in that sense, in that particular area, yeah, it's going to make that scenario more fair because, well, the more people that are unionized, the better. A progressive is running for governor of New York. Nice. Who's running? Yeah, so New York, sorry, Buffalo. Yeah, Buffalo, New York, Apollyon. Is a 4-day workweek the answer to employee burnout? Most American workers say yes. Gee, I wonder why. More than a year and a half into the COVID pandemic, many American workers are burnt out. True. The remedy may be a 4-day workweek, according to a survey from Eagle Hill Consulting. One of those U.S. employees polled. Of those U.S. employees polled, 53% say they're experiencing burnout, with women and younger workers showing the highest levels at 56 and 62 respectively. Fully 83% said a shortened workweek would help. The survey, that's not just like a majority, that is an overwhelming majority. The survey included 1,010 respondents from a random sample of employees across the U.S. Employee burnout has been simmering for years, and the twin problems of the pandemic and workforce shortage have exacerbated the problem. While not new, the idea of a 4-day workweek has slowly been gaining ground since the COVID-19 pandemic struck in July. Representative Mark Takano, a Democrat from California, introduced a bill that would reduce the standard workweek to 32 hours from 40. That's excellent. Excellent idea. Employers, meanwhile, are looking for ways to become more efficient while at the same time addressing the needs of employees. Lamau? No, not really. In September, technology company Bolt jump-started a 4-day workweek, and earlier this year, New York-based crowdfunding platform Kickstarter announced it would test it out in early 2022. The latter is taking a part in a global effort called the 4-Day Week Global that has companies trying to reduce the workweek. So far, 15 businesses in US and Canada have joined the 6-month pilot program, which kicks off next year. 15 businesses, nice. The idea is to reduce work hours, not pay or productivity. That's key. That is key. Jermaine Williams. Nice, we'll take a look. This is something sociologists would call bridging social capital, and that would something that takes two groups, create a link between them, and allows more diversity of ideas and acceptance of others. I think unions are absolutely something that can do that, and I think the biggest thinkers on social capital, Robert Putnam, would say the same. Yeah, I mean, like, of course, yeah, because like it makes sense. Just on the surface, it makes sense that, of course, if you're in a union, you're not gonna, you're not interested in talking necessarily about, like, generally speaking, you're not gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna close ranks because this person is X, Y, or Z. No, all of you guys close ranks and have a sense of solidarity to try to get the best deal for everybody, so everybody wins in the workplace. Like, that's the whole idea. We are changing the model. We are changing the model of work away from measuring how long you are at the desk, how long you are at the office, and moving towards what people are actually producing and what outcomes we're trying to achieve over the course of the week. Yeah, I mean, like, at the end of the day, again, numerous tests, studies, observations have pretty much indicated that a 4-day work week is super beneficial, and also, I would say, way overdue at this point. I mean, there's no need to do overwork employees like this. Amid the Great Resignation, in which a record 4.4 million people quit in September alone, a 4-day workweek may give employers an edge when it comes to hiring. The things that you need to do as an employer to give people to get an edge to fill up vacancies is good benefits and good pay. It's not that hard. Okay? It's unironically not that hard. If your business cannot support the salaries for your employees of a good living wage and a good pack of benefits, then sorry, get a new business model. If you can't handle or shoulder the employees' salaries to make sure that they're taken care of, sorry, you shouldn't be in business. Hey, misinformation, damn price for the win. Yeah, reducing the work week by reducing the actual working hours while retaining pay is absolutely necessary for society. True. To be honest, for me, that would be a compromise. I think people should be working part-time, about 25 hours per week, and it's And that's it for full-time wages. Yeah, I mean, like, productivity-wise, I think that's pretty much, like, that's, like, because from what I understand, like, past a certain point, like, people are just droning, right? Past a certain point, like, you're not even getting the extra productivity from the hours that you're just sitting there. I'm sorry, but, like, out of all the 8 hours, like, there's no way that you're constantly working, depending on your job, of course, the entirety of those 8 hours, and you're not going to keep up the same level of, like, attention span. And on top of that, if you are forced to work 8 hours, like in the service industry where you're standing up for the entire time, where you're constantly working the entire shift, then of course you're going to get burnt out very quickly. According to a 2019 report by Henley Business School in the UK, 63% of businesses said it's easier to attract and retain talent with a 4-day workweek. Yeah, no kidding. It also found that 78% of employees with a 4-day schedule are happier and less stressed. No way. The reasoning for that also is because, well, let's be honest. A 2-day weekend is not really much, is it, right? Because guess what? You've been working all week. Now comes the weekend. What do you have to do? You have to catch up on all your stuff. You have to catch up on all your stuff, and then here comes Sunday. Here comes Sunday night, and that's it. Weekend's over. The reason why it needs to be reduced is not necessarily just about workers. It's about the systematic change it would bring about. You need the good jobs filled by double the amount of people and cut away all the nonsensical middle management jobs that are there to purely shuffle numbers around. True. We need real productive jobs that are meaningful to people, and the only way to do that is to have reduced hours for those in those jobs and to move people who aren't already in them into the fold. We need less BS jobs and more people in the real ones. Yeah. Okay, that's, yeah. TLDR. That's it right there. You also get a lot of improvements when it comes to employees' mental health and physical health, because they have more time to see their family, they have more time to chill, personal time, which is incredibly important. Companies that have done this well are not saying these are the changes you need to make. They have empowered their people to come up with ideas and solutions to change the way we work, to ensure we produce the same outcomes over 4 days rather than 5. That's what Banks Benitez, co-founder and CEO of Denver-based Uncharted, did, and when you decided to test out the 4-day week, meetings were cancelled or downsized and priorities were reimagined. It has been a great forcing function for us to think differently, like taking a smaller suitcase on vacation, we have to make trade-offs. Yeah, I mean, like, there's a lot of, especially in, like, the office world, there's a lot of BS meetings that go on back to back. It has been a great forcing function for us to think differently, evaluating a 4-day week should be a part of the larger strategic conversation about the intersection of an organization's mission and its people. Yeah, but like, here's the thing. It should always be about people. Your employees are always first, because without them, you have nothing. It may work for some, but not others, such as those in hospitality, medical, and public safety fields. A 5-day workweek has been a part of the American culture for more than a century, and change isn't easy. Yeah, change may not be easy, but doesn't mean it doesn't have to be done. And the reality is, while it is true that there are industries that might be tougher to do, these kind of things than other, but you can just rotate more people, right? Wouldn't that increase the ability to have more people working? Because you would cut hours. For example, like the hospitality, you would cut those shifts into more pieces, and maybe you would need to hire more people. Unicorn Glitty, how's it going? Morning. React to Saudi and Howdy? I have no idea what that even is. Anyways, TLDR, this continues to cement the idea that we shouldn't, this idea that we just have to like work ourselves to death is nonsense. It is nonsense, and it is incredibly popular too. Correct, Dakabalia, and thus creating more jobs because you have to separate the shifts. I mean, on a deep psychological level, I would be interested to see how less work hours would impact people in terms of their consumptive habits too. Like a big part of consumerism is the short rush of buying things and opening the box, which is driven by the fact that we don't have a lot of time to appreciate the slower moments. Now that I'm interested in. React to Saudi and Audi, trust me, it's a song. No thanks. I wish I had a hammer and sickle emote. Can somebody like confirm that was like not that was like reported or something? Somebody's emote got reported because of that. It was really bizarre. It was really bizarre. Oh, Skidded here. Thank you, misinformation. Yeah, so James brings up a good point. I suspect that maybe that's one of the reasons why they want to do business as usual, because, you know, you gotta keep the machine going, right? You gotta keep the machine going. Because people who because like you said, it would have a because you would have more time to maybe think about things and stuff like that. You don't have that that anxiety, I guess. That anxiety. Nah, the next time you ask me to react to something, I'm just gonna time you out. Easy as that. Don't know how else to... South Carolina Republican introduces bill to decriminalize marijuana at a federal level. Yep. Apple specifically designed the emoji so I can't do it. What? No way. Yeah, so in Bizarro World... Oh, I see what you're saying. So in Bizarro World, Representative Nancy Mace, a first-term Republican from South Carolina, introduced a bill Monday to decriminalize cannabis at the federal level, which she hopes she will garner more GOP support for the legalization movement. I don't think so, but we will see. The basic psychology does generally say that real authentic feelings of satisfaction or happiness come from people spending their time wisely rather than their money. Yes, The common one being, if you pay someone to clean your home so you don't spend 3 hours doing it on Sunday, you'll feel better than you'll miss the $150 or whatever. You can't buy time back. Correct. I have a question. What are you reacting to? The news! The news. News and politics. Did you get lost? This legislation, I believe, has something good for everyone, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, Mace told reporters outside the Capitol where she introduces her States Reform Act. Even though it's legal in 18 states with medical use permissible in 37 states, marijuana is illegal under federal law. Mace's bill would strip cannabis of its classification as a Schedule I drug under the Controlled Substance Act, which makes possession of marijuana a crime. Her office said the legislation aims to end criminalization in a manner consistent with the rights of states to determine what level of cannabis reform or legalization each state wants to regulate or not. The measure would also allow for expungement of federal convictions in nonviolent cases and provide a framework for federal regulation and enforcement in states that allow the sale of marijuana. Huh. Sales would be prohibited to people under 21, adding that the bill would establish cannabis regulation similar to restrictions to alcohol. I mean, we're getting there. Okay? We're getting there. Legislation further calls for a 3% federal excise tax on marijuana, lower than the level in a Democratic bill making its way through the House. I kept it very low, pointing to a high tax on marijuana in California. She said she would have stoked black market sales. It's got to be under 4% to reduce the opportunity for illicit markets. A Gallup poll released this month found that 68% of Americans support legalizing marijuana, with backing from 83% of Democrats and 50% of Republicans. Yeah, so like, it's pretty popular. Legalize, regulate, expunge records, and have the profits go to communities affected by the war on drugs. True. See that Gallup poll hyperlink? Can you open that up? Yeah, let's see. I'm still convinced that the opening scene of Pineapple Express was historically accurate. No, I'm not familiar. I'm not familiar with Middle Eastern politics, which is why I, generally speaking, don't comment on it. Generally speaking, I tend to stay within the US. Do you think that marijuana should be legal or not? So they just said legal, right? I'm wondering if in the poll they made a distinction between legalization and decriminalization. Yeah, I think here it just says legal. Legalization, not decriminalize, but legalize. But will I be able to grow my own? That's a good question. Wait, what? Yeah, I know. Unicorn Glitty. At the federal level, decriminalization is legalization. It'll be legal the moment the average American is consuming piece of trash. In other words, it leaves it to the states. At the federal level, decriminalization is legalization. Correct. Are you a Democrat? I'm everything. I'm everything. Like when people are talking to me on their iPhones wearing their Forever 21 big cotton shirts. Gallup poll released this month. Oh yes, here we go. My main goal is to get as many... Mace said her bill has already 5 Republican co-sponsors. My main goal is to get as many Republican support as I can initially, after hearing great feedback. But the chair of the South Carolina GOP, Drew McKissick, denounced Mace's efforts. Unequivocally, the South Carolina Republican Party is against any efforts to legalize, decriminalize the use of controlled substances. That is included And that includes this bill. This isn't like a controlled substance. That's such a misnomer. Like, this is such a misnomer. Imagine thinking like weed or marijuana, cannabis, is a controlled substance. The Democratic controlled the House passed a broader but similar bill late last year called the Marijuana Opportunity Reinvestment and Expunge Act. A total of 222 Democrats and 5 Republicans voted for the legislation, while 6 Democrats and 158 Republicans voted against it. The bill died in the Senate, which at the time was controlled by Republicans. House Democrats are trying to pass the legislation. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer circulated a draft of this bill that would decriminalize marijuana called the Cannabis Administration and Opportunity Act, but he acknowledged he doesn't have the votes to get it passed. The legislation would need 60 votes to pass in the Senate, and a number of Republican and I hate this terminology, and conservative Democratic senators have argued against quick action. Quick action? What? Like, what else do you need? This is a BS excuse. Urging further studies on the drug before it is decriminalized. Yeah, that tells me that they're never going to be satisfied. They're never going to be satisfied. Period. What is your opinion on MBS? What is MBS? Like, again, I'm this close. There's so many stoner Republicans, I don't get it. Well, Super Mario Bros. I'm over it. Democratic senators have urged... and conservative Democratic senators have urged against quick action of urging further studies on the drug before it is decriminalized. Yeah, like, I bet we can do, like, 1,000 different studies, and they'll say it's still too quick of an action. I mean, when it comes to drugs, there's definitely important distinctions to be made between decriminalization and legalization that should be aired. I think for sort of drugs like this, legalization is okay, but I would push back on policy once you start getting into the harder drugs that carry more serious effects. Right? I mean, like, I think generally speaking, I think that decriminalization should be just across the board, with a focus especially with, harder drugs and things like that. Pot is dangerous, it leads to violence against refrigerators. True. Anyways, TLDR. Even though the Democratic Party has the majority, somehow this Republican representative manages to somehow be to the left of them. This is just to illustrate the potential that the Democratic Party can have, the potential and the type of stuff that they should be working on, given the fact that they have the majority. I got on probation for weed residue, and a year later, when my probation ended, it got legalized here. Wow, that's so. I mean, like, if it gets legalized, then shouldn't your probation and all that just get, like, expunged, right? Probation for resin, yeah. But the bill passed during my probo. Federal decriminalization should have been a no-brainer for the last 3 election cycles. Yep. I got arrested for someone else's grinder and then paraded around town half naked, thrown into a cold jail, left to sleep on the concrete, and it'll never be legal in Texas in my lifetime. Yikes. Yikes. Other countries have done studies. We should just go off that. They're just delaying because they only want white people to basically own the industry and they control over it. Very few black people of color have licenses in the US because of racism. I mean, like, for sure that there's a financial incentive, for sure. And I think that you can present them any amount of stories, any amount of studies. Any amount of studies. People have no concept of how much money it is involved in being illegal. Yeah, it's just an excuse. I was 17 when I finally had my court date. I was 18, so they had treated me as an adult. Yikes. One of the interesting debates that happens on the front line, on this front in the UK, is if a drug is legalized, and as we have an NHS service, which comes with duty of care if drugs are legalized, should the health service be legally obliged to provide you with some of those drugs if you need them for mental health or physical reason? Essentially the line between recreation and legal obligation. Well, yeah, I mean, like, especially when it comes to opiates, things like that. I think that they should have methods of weaning people off. But, like, I don't know. They just froze 1,000 people with not turning the power back on in the ice zone. Those same people control our laws here. Yeah, this was due to mainly, like, lack of regulations. Is getting legalized, and when people are profiting in spades are not allowed to do so anymore, and the only way that happens is when socialists develop a spine and make them. Yeah, but, like, you can still do this, just with a stroke of a pen, to be honest. They're just delaying and finding different ways to not lose revenue from prison, fine, lawyers, and judges, and prison time. Yeah, sure. That's a good that's a valid argument. 2.3 million prisoners working sweatshop lines does not make a motive for capitalists to legalize. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that's a valid argument. 100%. I want to know how strong the lobby is. I want to know how strong the lobby is. Also, I have noticed nothing proprietary in your stream. I don't know what that means. The lobby for prisons? Yeah, well, the lobby, I guess I would say the lobby against legalization. No iPhones, no slobs, no brand name stuff, basically. I mean, yeah, there's not really anything brand named except mine. Not really. Not on display, not really. That's the lobby for prison labor. Oh, yeah, okay, I see what you mean. The same people that bust unions also lobby. Yeah, of course. Alright, folks, we're moving into, kind of a... darker story. So, and raises a lot of, I guess, legal questions too. So, content warning before we proceed. Because at this point, how many people is it anyways? Like 50? The lobby people? The prison industrial complex doesn't want it legal? No, probably not. Probably not. I gave up on slobs yesterday, cut my internet. Yikes. Yikes. Anyways, content warning. Full disclosure. This is not something that I usually use as a source. Simply because I understand the... Okay. Anyways. Simply because I understand the massive sway or swing bias, whatever you want to call it. Generally speaking, I tend to stay away from like heavily biased sources. But this brings up a good question, or this brings up legal questions, right? When it comes to how, yeah, this is like spyware. Yeah, I was like, what? A lot of legal questions, right? So, a police officer kills 8-year-old girl and 2 teens are charged with her murder. Not the police officer, but the other people are charged. Something that is called, which to my knowledge is just absolutely asinine that this is like a thing. It's called transferred intent. It's called transferred intent, right? Which brings up serious civil and legal questions, right? The charges against the 2 teens have revived an under-the-radar debate about the doctrine of transferred intent, a controversial approach that some say grants the state too much latitude to sweep up people in prosecutions for crimes they did not commit. That's complicated here by the fact that the actual shooter in question was another agent of the government, right? So it's not like, it's not like somebody else is being charged for, like, I don't know, negligence because some incident happened. No, this is what seems to me a loophole for a legal loophole for cops to transfer culpability to other people. So it's a serious question about civil rights and legality here. And just to be clear, this article has a slant for, this is like a libertarian magazine, okay? So just to be clear, generally speaking, I do not use these type of sources because of their heavy slant. But I think that this particular incident here is important to discuss. Would this be the same legal burden that they would say swatting someone? It's like if you do a swatting on somebody, the police then end up killing somebody, but then the person who did the swatting gets roped up, right? I can't emotionally listen, so I'll be back. Yeah, that's why I did a content warning several times. So I completely understand, Tendara. Completely understand. You gotta get people on them sweatshop lines. Somebody's gotta make your iPhones. I believe those are not made here. Like I said, if the phone, if I phone the police to your house and say they're gonna murder me and they bust in and shoot you as you happen to be polished your legally owned gun in your home alone, am I legally responsible for that because I've created the scenario in which you have been killed? Yes, but also, like, should the first reaction, without having the full scope of things, especially since incidents like this have happened, also put some type of burden on the state as well. Shouldn't some burden also happen to be put on the state as well? And this particular story is not the same as something clear cut where you could say, or you can make the argument where someone is intending to use a swatting incident to get you hurt, right? This is something completely different. I mean, the scenario underneath this paragraph has an opposite and worse scenario, would say, because the woman is not responsible at all for what happened. Exactly. It would not be the first time that police have used the legal doctrine to deflect responsibility onto someone else for a tragic accident. An Idaho woman was recently charged with manslaughter after police killed another police officer with his vehicle while responding to the woman's apparent mental health crisis. Jesus Christ. How? Through an internal investigation revealed that the officers had failed to follow safety protocols that evening. Jenna Holmes spent over a year in jail awaiting trial on that homicide charge. A judge eventually struck the charge down as unconstitutional. Yeah, but like the point is, why is that even a possibility? Why is that even a possibility? Why is that even a possibility? Cochter, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. Swatting is very scary. That's true. Observers will likely find this story less cut and dry. Having a mental health crisis on the side of the road is obviously not the same as engaging in a gunfight, but it remains a matter of debate whether the two teens should be prosecuted solely for the crimes they allegedly committed, aggravated assault and gun charges, as opposed to first-degree intentional murder of someone everyone acknowledges they did not actually kill. Right, like, this makes such a legal and constitutional question, right? Because, like, why is this even an option? Because you need to arrest and charge people if they possibly have committed a crime. Okay, yes, but here, these are separate things, right? Look at our economy. It was built by slave labor. This country was built by slave labor. It was never used in this. Slave labor was never not used in this country. I'm guessing any case would come down to definition of like malicious intent. In the scenario I gave, obviously I'm being malicious, but in the scenario of the article, the woman is making a genuine claim for help, and the police are the natural respondents to said call for help, so she's not legally burdened by that at all. But you're right, it shouldn't even reach a court to establish that's plainly obvious. Right. Correct. But here, in this situation, if, like, for example, two folks allegedly engage in, like, a gunfight against police, right? And the cops end up accidentally killing, like, a bystander. The person engaging in said shootout did not actually kill that person. And furthermore, it wouldn't even be first-degree intentional murder. How do you prove that? Why is that even a thing? Like, I don't know. Why is that even a thing? So, like, because if you should, like, the crimes that you allegedly are being charged with, that should be the limit of what the state is supposed to charge you with, right? Like, how is that? How could they charge you with first-degree intentional murder against a person they actually never killed? Benjamin Dixon. Rating with a party of 21. Rating with a party of 33. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Welcome, everybody. Good morning, Jamtoon. But he created the environment that led to the killing. If he did that intentionally, that is intentional homicide. Yeah, but like, he didn't do it though. Like, I don't get it. How is that? Like, how you could maybe say, Gluminati, thank you for the follow. You could maybe say that there's an argument for like reckless endangerment. You could maybe say there's an argument for reckless endangerment. But first degree intentional murder? Mimosa Dragon, how's it going? Progressive Hammer, how's it going? That just doesn't sound right to me. But I remember because we did Scott's Law last year, years ago, and there was, I think, instances where if you create like a dangerous environment or something like that and results in harm to participants or bystanders, then you are legally responsible for it because you created the environment that led to the event. But yeah, it would be like manslaughter. Right, like you could make an argument for like reckless endangerment. But I don't think that's like, I don't think that's a case for like first degree intentional homicide. Like, how could you make that? If I lit a building on fire, the next home catches on fire too. There's a person inside. Shouldn't I be charged for killing that person though? I didn't lit that home on fire. Well, you definitely should be charged with something. Maybe arson and again, reckless endangerment. There may be an argument for civil cases against you. There may be arguments for civil cases against you, but like the idea that you can just kind of like do that, and more importantly, the legality of transferring the responsibility from someone like a police officer, then we start having those type of questions, right? Because this isn't like a citizen to citizen kind of deal, right? This isn't like a citizen to citizen deal. This is the state trying to transfer that what is it? Transfer intent. I don't think third degree murder exists in all states though, but it's a little more specific on that one. So I had to do in your ideal world, I can just light houses on fire until the right house catches on fire without my making. I can kill everyone without getting charged homicide. Well, because you're not, unless you're trying to kill those people, unless you knew specifically, then how would you know? Like, are you looking for people inside the homes to make sure that they're there? Are you like looking inside those homes to make sure that there's people there so you can then light it on fire? Because then that's a whole other story, right? If you created arson and that arson transfers and makes something other damage, then what you would do is be charged for reckless endangerment. You can make an argument for something like manslaughter, but I don't think first degree murder, intentional murder, unless you're like, the whole point is the state then has to prove that you had the intention of going around and lighting said building on fire so that you could kill people. And furthermore, you're not a cop. You may also be liable for civil damages. No, so that's a very weird situation. How that would work is is how that one would work is the prosecution would argue there's reasonable expectation that someone was in a series of houses you burned down, so it doesn't have to be actual intent in the sense that you absolutely knew that you were trying to achieve something. It just has to be a reasonable expectation that is a likely outcome. Gotcha. Okay, as long as we charge him directly for killing a person and not just arson. Well, I mean, you started a fire, right? I don't get it. Like, you can make an argument maybe for like manslaughter. But my whole point and the whole legal question and I guess constitutionality question would be, what happens if this is like a situation where someone like a police officer is attempting to divert that responsibility? When the doctrine of transferred intent is inherent to the contentious felony murder rule. It's how, for example, prosecutors in Ohio were able to zero in on a teenager for the murder of her boyfriend after a police officer killed him during a botched robbery. Though the state conceded the obvious that the 16-year-old Masonic Saunders hadn't pulled the trigger, they pinned the killing on her because she allegedly helped him plan that burglary. She ultimately pleaded guilty to involuntary manslaughter. But when the police and when the state is involved, but when the state is involved, things get a little dicey, right? Things get a little dicey. If you start a fire in a house and someone dies in that house, it would still be at the very least third degree because there's a reasonable expectation that a house is occupied. It is not a normal action citizen to burn down a house, and therefore you specifically acted in a dangerous manner. Right. I start to ask questions when it comes to scenarios like this, right? Like, the police killed this person. And it's not like nowhere near like this arson scenario, right? It just seems very weird to me. Bellitti's family has filed a civil suit against the officer and the police department. It's questionable that her family members will ever get the opportunity to state their case before a jury, as they will need to overcome qualified immunity, the doctrine that shields government officials from lawsuits if they allegedly violated someone's rights that have not yet been clearly established in a prior court decision. So too, they will face an uphill battle in suing the department, as the Monell Doctrine will require they prove that the government had a specific policy in place that explicitly propagated the behavior that evening. I want the focus to remain on Sharon Hill. Police officers whose negligent and reckless behavior reacting as they did is what killed Fanta Bellitti. Bruce Castor, an attorney for the family, told the Philadelphia Inquirer, from the point of view of the Bellitti family, these officers killed Fanta, and they need to be held accountable for that, and their responsibility for their supervision and training needs to be held accountable. Right, that's why I'm trying to say, like, the legality when it comes to dealing with somebody, when it comes to cops are different. He has to comply with his duty. If him arresting you because you did some effed up shit leads to something that wouldn't have happened if you didn't do the shit that he isn't responsible for because he hadn't done. Yeah, like I don't know. I'm trying to move overseas. Well, if you can. Yeah, because like how do you square that circle, right? Because so what? Just because you are engaged in a shootout, it makes you like free from responsibility. You're the police officer, right? You're the police officer. So that's where I have questions. The actual article one might take is maybe not the same one as a lot of people in that space. I don't think the example of a police officer should be charged with something that was genuinely an accident with the process of protecting the general public or engaging with a dangerous suspect. If any legal responsibility was made in that case, it should be with the arrested people, not the police. Of course, you can establish that the officer acted in a safe and professional manner. Yeah, like... But like, at that point then, like, everybody who engages, then that means like the police are just like what, carte blanche, not responsible for anything that happens when it comes to like dealing with public safety. I don't get it. I only argue from the stand the cops had to do what they did and to comply with their duty in a reasonable manner, right? In a reasonable manner. So like I don't know. I just want to make sure that we have a reasonable line and not be able to give the state like the power to just like carte blanche say, well, you know, actually just you made the situation happen, so if they did was unreasonable, so the old lady would open fire. They open fire, the police is responsible. Yeah, so again, that's my point. Like I don't know. I don't know if I'm okay with that. I don't know if I'm okay with that. What we do, what we say we do, and what we want to do are all different. Are 4 different things, right? So basically, if the officer acted in a safe manner, it was genuinely a freak accident. Well, yeah, you would have to. Yeah, you would have to prove that. You're purely trying to protect the public. The danger has been set up by the people engaging in the initial violence, so therefore the legal responsibility is with them. You can't have officers charged for every negative outcome because it has to be assumed that sometimes they will enter into dangerous spaces and need to act in a reasonable manner, right? The keywords being reasonable and within the confines of what is responsible behavior and protocol, right? The issue I'm having here is the possibility. I mean, the possibility of first-degree murder, first-degree intentional murder for someone they did not actually intend to kill, first degree. First degree? You should take issue with everything that we're saying and everything that you're reading right now. Like, my go-to is always to be skeptical of the state and always be skeptical of what first and foremost, like, of what the state and like police do. Like that is my first instinct. I think the first degree is extreme. I think it's pretty wild to charge to label, and I'd be very curious to see how they would even argue that. Right, because like the whole thing is intent, right? And first degree is a very specific charge. Like, if this goes through, then what? Like, no, I don't like it. The first degree is always charged in felony murder. Okay. See, this is where my lawyer skills are lacking, but that's just not because, like, look, this isn't to excuse the incident that happened, but again, like, I think that the worst at worst would be like manslaughter, but like the idea of transferring intent from when it comes to with the state is where I'm having like the disconnect, right? Is where I'm having trouble squaring the circle. Right? Because I'm just not comfortable with the ability to somebody just to the state just having the ability to say, well, this incident happened and now we're gonna like do this with malice intent of doing a crime, and therefore and their action against the police is willful, and therefore every situation and therefore every statute for first degree murder is met. Yeah, but against that particular person, because like it's not if it's not as if manslaughter charge is a lenient thing either. It still probably carries like 10 plus years in prison in most states. Yeah, but it's not, I don't know. Transferring intent isn't something new. Yeah, I really didn't know about this at all. Like, I'm very, very not knowledgeable when it comes to law, or how deep and complicated it can get. But, like, is it though? Like, this is a completely tangential incident. This is a completely tangential incident. This is a completely tangential incident, and people want to, tack on first-degree intentional murder? But away from legal point of view, do you think it's more that the people are charged with something related to homicide? That's something I'm gonna have to square in my head. Like, morally wise? Morally wise, I don't know, because like if you want to say that they had, like, you know, obviously they shot at the police, therefore, like, they were intending to roadblocks the police, but not the person the police shot, right? So I don't know. Because, like, here is the question posed, right? It remains a matter of debate whether the two teams should just be prosecuted for solely the crimes they committed, allegedly, aggravated assault and all the gun charges and whatever it is that you want to attack them on, right? But, transfer intent for murder is the same as framing someone for murder. Am I wrong? No, not in all situations, I think. Not in all situations. I'm just not comfortable with this, right? And at the crux of it, this is the question, right? At the core of it, this is the question. It remains a matter of debate whether the two teams should be prosecuted solely for the crimes they allegedly committed, aggravated assault and gun charges, as opposed to the first-degree intentional murder of someone everyone acknowledges they did not actually kill. And do you think the police should be charged for killing that person? I would have to see the facts of the case, but it seems to me that obviously it was somebody who was struck by a bullet, right? That I don't think they intended to kill that person. The foster care system, the testing grounds for Big Pharma, has already made slaves for children worse ways. Well, the foster system, I will say, Unicorn Glitty, is very bad. It's different. I think you have to be careful in going to a discussion with a conclusion already in mind. In this instance, immediately assuming that the police are bad, nobody is denying systemic issues with the police, but people should always try to find and balance and reason and evidence, the same we do when we call out systemic problems of police, right? I would just send all police officers to prison. Personally, I'm the only pro-crime candidate. How's it going? Yeah, so, like, that's my, constitution question here. Like, in terms of, like, the legality here, I don't know if these people should be charged with first-degree intentional murder. I just... I don't know. The uni timetable effed me up completely today. Set a lecture for 12 to 1. It's actually actual time 2 to 4. Yikes. Yikes. Yeah, so I guess that's my question, right? I think that there has to be limits and there has to be sufficient guardrails for when it comes to the state and when it comes to police, right? Because like it's one thing like Cockter brought up where like it's just a civilian doing like a I don't know, an arson, and ends up doing an arson, somebody dies. Most likely than not, they're going to be, you know, obviously charged with something, right? But here is a completely different scenario and involving an agent of the state. So, instead of writing up an accidental shooting report. But wouldn't that be easier though? Because like that's actually just like probably more provable than just putting this on, right? I don't know. It just feels weird and uncomfortable with the how should I say, latitude. That's my thing. Is the leeway and latitude when it comes to these type of scenarios. That's my TLDR. I don't know if we should have this much latitude here. It's not often I find myself defending the police, but this does feel a little unusual. I think in a case like this, you do have to think about what reasonable actions are in dangerous environments. If the officer is found to be recklessly firing all over the place, then sure. But yeah, but it's not about charging the officer. It's the question is, should you be allowed as a civilian who allegedly committed crimes to then be tacked on something that you didn't actually do, right? If they were actually trying to tackle a dangerous person, but I think it's unfair. It's not their fault. There are people with guns shooting at them. Is basically, yeah, like I'm still like not sure of what the legality is for charging like the cops necessarily, because if they acted in a reckless way, then obviously. But my question is here: should these two teens, be charged with first-degree intentional murder? That's my question. They shouldn't be able to frame people for murder. I think we all agree on that. Yeah, exactly. That, I mean, like, my question is, should they be allowed to tack on this to something that has, in my opinion, is tangential, right? They didn't actually do that. I think if someone is doing something very dangerous, they should be responsible for the consequences of that. And if it's directly linked in this instance, I think it is. I think that at least they should be taken to court for that case decided to be a jury. Yeah, but like first degree intentional murder, like you can, I mean, these are clear cut, right? Like aggravated assault, gun charges and all that, right? But I don't know. Are you only responsible for a death you actively do something towards that person, so no abandonment? I don't know about first degree intentionality. Because they can't afford to rise, and likely going to be an end result. American loves their slave economy. They can't quit purchasing more goods. Well, I mean, like, to be fair, Unicorn Glitty, a lot of our goods aren't actually purchased here, right? They're made by there is obviously a lot of prison labor, which should not be legal, in my opinion. But a lot of our goods come from China. I wouldn't doubt it. Are you? Yeah, like. But should this be a thing? As opposed to the first degree potential murder of someone everyone acknowledges they didn't actually kill. That's the question, right? If it was second degree, would you be okay with it? I'd have to see the facts, but... I don't know. I think we can make an argument for reckless endangerment on behalf of the two teens. You can maybe make an argument for, like, manslaughter. Maybe. But the idea that... the idea that this is first-degree intentional murder... I think this was a good article to bring forward, though, because this conversation is actually interesting. Yeah, like, I actually don't know what, like... my point is that I don't know if I'm comfortable giving this much leeway is my TLDR, right? That's my thing. I'm not sure if I'm comfortable allowing the state to have this leeway. Because, like, obviously, you know, these crimes, allegedly, you know, obviously aggravated assault, the gun charges, all of these things are applicable, and you can even say there is a case for reckless endangerment because they put themselves, they created a scenario of reckless endangerment where somebody got, like, you know, hurt, somebody got killed, right? So, yeah, it's like, yes. But first degree intentional murder of somebody they didn't actually, I don't know. I'm not comfortable giving the state this much leeway. I'm not comfortable giving the state this much leeway. I think technicality needs to exist in some way to allow some more extreme examples that have previously been given, though. Sure, this might not fit and be thrown out, but the swatting example of where something does it so needs to be chargeable. Yeah, like... like, if you swat somebody and that person gets killed, I'm not sure if you should be charged with, like, first degree intentional murder, right? Like, you could say that there's a reckless endangerment. You could say that there is, like, maybe even a case for manslaughter. Are you in general comfortable with felony murder? What? Like, committing? No. The wording of that? Yeah, no, obviously not. Felony murder is obvious if you murdered somebody. That's pretty obvious, right? Anyways. Oh, it's not, it's okay. Even like the swatting thing, like, you created that situation. You created that scenario. So something like reckless endangerment to manslaughter could be applicable. You created that scenario where you thought that somebody was going to get hurt, and you did it on purpose. But also, doesn't that give a little bit too much, like, doesn't that give a little bit too, doesn't that take away, I should say, doesn't that take away some responsibility from the state as well? I mean, like, I'm genuinely asking, wouldn't that also, like, absolve or take away some of the responsibility from the state as well, right? Because, like, if you are going into what you perceive to be a dangerous scenario, like, you better be sure, okay? If you think that you are going into a dangerous scenario in a case of somebody calling in a swatting or whatever, and you think, like, the most heinous thing is going on, okay? You better be sure, and you better be ready, and act in a manner that is proper and be ready, right? Not like in the horrible instances where they just go in guns a-blazing, right? Like that's not a, I don't know. But then the state can be still responsible in instances where there's a genuine wrongdoing. Or at least it should on paper. Yeah, you're right. But what if we could charge both, so the person who created the situation plus the person who shot and killed? Maybe. Okay, maybe that's where we're getting at. Because like my problem, I think we're finally getting to where my conclusions are getting to as I take this all in. Is I'm just not comfortable with letting the state have this much leeway, and I'm just not comfortable with the state having the ability to Jesus, I keep getting all these scam calls. With the state not being able to, so in other words, they are absolved of some type of responsibility, right? Like in the swatting incident, like if you are going into this type of heinous situation, like, I mean, is the proper response just come in there guns a-blazing, or is the proper response to evaluate and confirm what the status is, right? It all depends on the scenario, I guess. But like, again, I just want to make sure that we don't allow more latitude than necessary to the state. And also, I don't want the state, or I guess actors of the state, police, to be able to be absolved of responsibility when it is when it's applicable, if that makes sense. That's what my concerns are. And I think that's basically where I'm at. They're gonna absolve what they want. There are cases where that happens, and yeah, that's true. Alright, folks. I'm gonna take just a really quick break, because we've got a final article to go through. I think I might have enough time, but we'll see. We'll see how much we can get through. Folks, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the follow button. We are here Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And we're here Saturdays at noon Eastern Time for Saturday Catterdays on the more casual side of the show. Make sure you hit the follow button. You get free emotes. 5 free emotes. And I will be right back. Thank you. Appreciate that, folks. Thank you for hanging out with me here today. Whew. We're getting into the real good stuff right now. I'm going to go over this article again tomorrow. But, I'm going to go over this article again, but here's the TLDR. We're going to pack 10,000 years of change into the next century. That's a huge rate we're just going to have to adjust. Yeah, this is where we're heading in terms of climate change. In other news, TLDR again, ExxonMobil is getting rid of a sale of its oil and gas properties in the first major U.S. shale field. Till this day, ExxonMobil has yet to face any consequences for what they have done. But don't worry. They promised to reshuffle and refocus their priorities. They promised they will refocus their priorities. What? Wait, what? That's not how things are done. That's not how things... Okay, that has to be a meme. I've never seen this in my life. We're gonna need some... Whew, we're gonna need some... We're gonna need some... We're gonna need some clarification, because I'm gonna press X to doubt, but I'm gonna look into that because that seems kind of yikesy. Thanks for the discussion. I do need a left-wing counter to my conservative bias. Well, appreciate that. Also, just really quickly, Mono, thank you for the resubscription. 5 months, buddy. Thank you so much. Coctor with the subscription. Prime, thank you so much. I appreciate that. What? That actually happened? Maybe it's a Wisconsin thing? What? Oh, wait. Oh, when it comes to the... okay. I thought like he had a vote in this. Wait. Okay, hold on. Instructed the 3 women and 3 men who were not selected to remain at court outside night, but they're alternates while they wait. Oh, this is how they picked the jury. As an old lottery tumbler that's been sitting in the windowsill, it was used to narrow the pool down to 12 jurors. Kyle Rittenhouse himself drew 6. With the numbers representing the jurors to select the alternates. Oh, okay. Oh man, I thought he was like... Oh, I thought he was like having like an like an actual like lottery spin at which juror makes that vote, right? I thought you were talking about the vote on how the trial is gonna go. Yeah, they had to draw 12. They had to draw which 12 jurors went on and which 6 are only backups. Nah, it's still weird. Casino country. Yeah, but it's different when you're just like randomizing it, right? You're not even like, oh man, that's so weird. But anyways, I thought it was something completely different because this made it seem, I'm sorry, maybe I read too much into it, but this made it seem like he was literally picking the person's vote. I thought he thought he was literally picking the person. This is how like clumsy I am with when it comes to like legalese, right? I literally thought that they were raffling to see which vote that person did. Jesus Christ. I appreciate the Prime, by the way. Thank you. My goodness. Casino country, true. Alright, let's see how much we can get through this. Today, 1% of the world is a barely livable hot zone. By 2070, that portion could go up to 19%. Billions of people call this land home. True. In early 2019, a year before the world shut its borders, completely Jorge A. knew that he had to get out of Guatemala. The land was turning against him. For 5 years, it's almost never rained, and then it did rain. Jorge rushed his last seeds into the ground, the corn sprouted into healthy green stalks, and there was hope, until without warning, the river flooded. Jorge waded in chest deep into his fields and searching in vain for corn cobs he could still eat. Soon he made a last desperate bet, signing away the tin roof hut where he lived with his wife and 3 children against a 1,500 advance in okra seeds. But after the flood, the rain stopped again and everything died. Jorge knew then, if he didn't get out of Guatemala, his family might die too. Even as hundreds of thousands of Guatemalans fled north towards the US in recent years, in Jorge's region, a state called Alta Verapaz, where precipitous mountains covered in coffee plantations and dense, dry forests give way to broader, gentle valleys, the residents have largely stayed. Now, though under a relentless confluence of drought, flood, bankruptcy, and starvation, they too have begun to leave. Almost everyone here experiences some degree of uncertainty about where their next meal will come from. Half the children are chronically hungry, and many are short in their further age, with weak bones and bloated bellies. Their families are all facing the same excruciating decisions that confronted Jorge. The odd weather phenomenon that many blame for the suffering here, the drought and sudden storm patterns known as El Niño, is expected to become more frequent as the planet warms. This is true. They actually made specific mentions to it in the IPCC report. Many semi-arid parts of Guatemala will soon be more like a desert. Rainfall is expected to decrease by 60% in some parts of the country, and the amount of water replenishing the streams and keeping soil moist will drop by as much as 83%. Yikes. Researchers project that by 2070, yields of some staple crops in the state where Jorge lives will decline by nearly a third. Scientists have learned to project such changes around the world with surprising precision, but until recently, little has been known about the human consequence of those changes. As their land fails them, hundreds of millions of people from Central America to Sudan to the Mekong Delta will be forced to choose between flight or death. The result will almost certainly be the greatest wave of global migration the world has seen. In March, Jorge and his 7-year-old son packed a pair of pants, 3 t-shirts, underwear, and a toothbrush into a single thin black nylon sack with a drawstring. Jorge's father has pawned his last 4 goats for $2,000 to pay them for their transit, another loan the family would have to repay at 100% interest. Yikes. The coyote called at 10 p.m. and they would go that night. They had no idea where they would wind up or what they would do once they got there. From decision to departure it was 3 days and then they were gone. For most of human history, people have lived within surprisingly narrow ranges of temperatures in the places where climate supported abundant food production. But as the planet warms, that band is suddenly shifting north. According to a path-breaking recent study in the journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, the planet could see a greater temperature increase in the next 50 years than it did in the last 6,000 years combined. Yeah. Take that into perspective. Something worth noting is that a lot of studies trying to figure out how bad things will be will focus on specific individual areas, right? I suspect because those specific areas are, I imagine, where food and water security or stability will be worse, and I assume. The reality of... Yeah, usually, exactly. The reality of it is that a lot of it is going to be multivariate and multiplicative. Yep. By 27, the kind of extreme hot zones, like in the Sahara, that now cover less than 1% of the Earth's land surface, could cover nearly a fifth of the land, potentially placing 1 out of every 3 people alive outside the climate niche where humans have thrived for thousands of years. Many will dig in, suffering through heat, hunger, and political chaos, but others will be forced to move on. A 2017 study in Science Advances found that by 2100, temperatures could rise to the point that just by going outside for a few hours in some places, including parts of India and eastern China, will result in death even for the fittest of humans. Yeah, so in other words, inhospitable. People are already beginning to flee. In Southeast Asia, where increasingly unpredictable monsoon rainfall and drought have made farming more difficult. The World Bank points to more than 8 million people who have moved towards the Middle East, Europe, and North America. In the African Sahel, millions of rural people have been streaming towards the coast and the cities amid drought and widespread crop failures. Should the flight away from a hot climate reach the scale that current researchers suggest is likely, it will amount to vast remapping of the world's populations. Migrations can bring great opportunity not just to migrants, but also to the places they go. As the US and other parts of the global north face a demographic decline, for instance, the injection of new people into an aging workforce could be to everyone's benefit. But securing these benefits starts with a choice. Northern nations can relieve pressures on the fastest warming countries by allowing more migrants to move north across their borders, where they can seal themselves off, trapping hundreds of millions of people in place that are increasingly unlivable. The best outcome requires not only the goodwill and the careful management of turbulent political forces, without preparation and planning, the sweeping scale of change that could prove widely destabilizing. The UN and others warn that in the worst case, the governments of the nations most affected by climate change could topple as whole regions devolve into war. And generally speaking, this happens because of resources. They don't factor in behavioral changes combined with food instability. It's not just going to be the food not being there, it's the people that are going to make the choices to F each other over what's left. So what's left won't even go as far as it should. Yikes, that's a good point. Yeah, that's not looking good. Yeah, so here's another here's another big brain take. Maybe instead of thinking about how to either shut off borders or how or to bring everybody in, here's another one. Here's another big brain take. Maybe we should be doing everything we can to limit or to at least give us the best possible outcome and start working on this on this climate crisis now. And to work on this climate crisis now before dealing with these possible scenarios. Hey Lasu, how's it going? Cheaper to shut off the borders and let people in other countries starve. Probably, but at the end of the day, it's going to affect all of us. That's only temporary, and that's not really addressing the whole climate thing, right? Because sure, you could do that, but eventually this will also be affected. Can everybody do me a quick favor? Go to twitch.tv/Lasu, give him a quick follow, give him some support, please. The stark policies that are already becoming apparent. As refugees stream from the Middle East and North Africa into Europe, from Central America into the US, and anti-immigration backlash has propelled nationalist governments into power and around the world. The alternative, driven by a better understanding of how and when people will move, is governments that are actively preparing both materially and politically for the greater changes to come. Last summer, I went to Central America to learn how people like Jorge will respond to changes in their climates. I followed decisions of people in rural Guatemala and the routes to the region's biggest cities, then north through Mexico to Texas. I found an astonishing need for food and witnessed the way competition and poverty among the displaced broke down cultural and moral boundaries, which is, I believe, something that Mono made an alluding to. What Mono alluded to. Who said they won't let us starve as well here. Yeah, like, again, that's not gonna... It's all irrelevant if, like, okay, sure, we block everything, we do, like, the whole eco-fash stuff. But what happens when our crops stop failing? Because of the heat? What happens when we have Water insecurity. What happens when the coast starts to flood? That is not an acceptable answer. The only correct path, in my opinion, is to do what we can now within the time frames that we have to lessen and to mitigate and to adapt and to do what we need to do now. Full stop, period. That's the only acceptable outcome, in my opinion. That's the only acceptable path, in my opinion, to take. But the picture on the ground is scattered. To better understand the forces and scale of climate migration over a broader area, the NYT magazine and ProPublica joined with the Pulitzer Center in an effort to model for the first time how people will move across borders. We focused on changes in Central America and used climate and economic development data to examine a range of scenarios. Our models project that migration will rise every year regardless of climate, but that the amount of migration increases substantially as the climate changes. In the most extreme climate scenarios, more than 30 million migrants would be heading towards the US border over the course of the next 30 years. Migrants move for many reasons, of course. The model helps us see which migrants are primarily driven by climate, finding that they would make up as much as 5% of the total. If governments take modest action to reduce climate emissions, about 680,000 climate migrants might move from Central America and Mexico to the US between now and 2050. If emissions continue unabated, leading to more extreme warming, that number jumps to more than 1 million people. That's a huge jump. None of these figures include undocumented immigrants, whose numbers could be twice as high. Right. The model shows that the political responses to both climate change and migration can lead drastically different figures. Yeah, because obviously, you could say that the instability, the political instability that is happening because of climate change could lead to mass migration, and the migrants themselves could be saying that there's a lot of political instability, but the reality is it's caused by climate change, right? Does that make sense? Instead of just saying like, yeah, I can't grow crops anymore, so I'm leaving. Two different things. Remember, there's a listen option, by the way, if you want to save your voice. Oh yeah, no, I'm only reading it because I'm like trying to speed run it through. We may have to do it in 2 parts, but I'm trying to speed run through it. Then move to the mountains and learn how to farm and hunt. Yeah, I mean, yeah. As the climate changes, drought and food insecurity drive rural residents in Mexico and Central America out of the countryside. Right, but then the question would be, is it because the political because they could answer the question by saying like, yeah, I'm picking up and leaving because it's unstable and it's not right for my family, because of the insecurity when it comes to politics and my safety, but that's driven by climate change, versus someone who says, like Jorge as the example, saying like, I actually can't grow food, I actually can't feed my family, therefore I'm leaving because of the climate change has destroyed my crops. 2 different answers, but both are caused by climate change. Millions seek relief first in big cities, spring a rapid and increasingly overwhelming urbanization. They move farthest north, pushing the largest number of migrants towards the US. The projected number of migrants arriving from Central America and Mexico rises to 1.5 million a year by 2050, from about 700,000 a year in 2025. We modeled another scenario in which the US hardens its borders and people are turned back, and economic growth in Central America slows, as does urbanization. In this case, Central America's population surges and the rural hollowing reverses as the birth rate rises, poverty deepens, and hunger grows, all with hotter weather and less water, which then again, you put people in a very tough situation. That version of the world leaves tens of millions of people more desperate with fewer options. Misery reigns and large populations become trapped. With much modeling work, the point here is not to provide concrete numerical predictions so much as it is to provide a glimpse into possible futures. That's what models do. Human movement is notoriously hard to model, as many climate researchers have noted. It is possible not to add a false precision of the political battles that inevitably surround any discussion of migration. But our models offer something far more potentially valuable to policymakers, a detailed look at the staggering human suffering that will be inflicted if countries shut their doors. Yes, that is true. But I would go a step further and say that this only increases the necessity for us to act now. A 3-degree increase will cause massive influx of people trying to get out of that, as well as landlords will not add AC or any other thing. So we'll also see a lot of effed up shit. We are already seeing a lot of effed up shit. But yes, you are correct, lawsuit. I forget, who was it who was here? I think it was Kal-El, who was saying that his landlord wasn't putting on like the furnace until it was like December or something like that. Yeah, no. But anyways, the point is, yes, you are correct. There's going to be a lot of potentially effed up shit going on here. In recent months, the COVID pandemic has also offered a test run on whether humanity has the capacity to avert a predictable and predicted catastrophe. Some countries have fared better, but the US has failed. The climate crisis will test the developed world again on a larger scale with higher stakes. The only way to mitigate the most destabilizing aspects of mass migration is to prepare for it, and preparation demands a sharper imagining of where people go and when. In November of 2007, Alan Kruger, a labor economist known for his statistical work on inequality, walked into Princeton University office of Michael Oppenheimer, a leading climate geoscientist, and asked him whether anyone has tried to quantify how and where climate change would cause people to move. Earlier that year, Oppenheimer helped write the UN IPCC report that for the first time explored in depth how climate disruption might uproot large segments of global populations. But as groundbreaking as the report was, the UN was recognized for its work with the Nobel Peace Prize. The academic disciplines whose work it synthesized were largely siloed from one another. Demographers, agronomists, and economists were all doing their work on climate change in isolation, but understanding the question of migration would have to include all of them. Together, Oppenheimer and Kruger, who died in 2019, began to chip away at the question, asking whether tools specifically used by economists might yield insight into the environment's effect on people's decision to migrate. True. They began to examine the statistical relationships, say, between census data and crop yields and historical weather patterns in Mexico to try to understand how farmers there respond to drought. The data helped them to create a mathematical measure of farmers' sensitivity to the environmental change, a factor that Kruger could use the same way he might evaluate fiscal policies but to model future migration. Their study, published in 2010 in Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, found that Mexican migration in the US pulsed upwards during the periods of drought and projected that by 2080, climate change there could drive 6.7 million more people up towards the southern US border. It was, Oppenheimer said, one of the first applications of econometric modeling to the climate migration problem. The modeling was a start, but it was a hyper-local instead of global, and it left open huge questions: how cultural differences might change outcomes, for example, or how population shifts might occur across larger regions. It was also controversial, igniting a backlash among climate change skeptics, who attacked the modeling effort as guesswork built on tenuous assumptions and argued that a model couldn't untangle the effect of climate change from all other complex influences that determine human decision-making and migration. That argument eventually found some traction with migration researchers, many of whom remain reluctant to model precise migration figures. It's not meant to be precise. It's meant to give you an idea. One of the potentials I find interesting is the migration within nations. Obviously, it's easy to fall back on closed borders and otherism when it comes to US-Mexico, yes, or Southern Europe and North Africa, but what happens when it becomes, say, California to Oregon, Nevada to Nebraska? Harder to shut borders, Americans, and yeah, that's true. Here's a doc on what 30 degrees rise will look like. But there definitely is a lot of states that were already susceptible to droughts, floods, and natural disasters now face the reality of those worsening and amplifying to the point of a lot of people might need to just leave. It would completely transform the social makeup of the US as we know it. Yep.
Hurricanes.
Whoa.
Between snow and sleet, wearing a jacket or not. In your day-to-day life, it may not seem significant, but 3 degrees of global warming would be catastrophic.
Oh yeah. Unfortunately, I don't have that much time, so I think we're gonna have to do this tomorrow. I'm going to put this on the Discord because we're gonna finish this, and we're gonna finish this and this NYT magazine. I'm also gonna post it in chat for those folks that want to watch it. Who's dealing with this? Like Louisiana have infrastructure and plans to deal with mass flooding. Yep, some do. Thank you, Lasso. Okay, so yeah, that argument eventually found some traction with migration researchers, many of whom remain reluctant to model precise migration figures. But to Oppenheimer and Kruger, the risk of putting a scientific shape to this well-established but amorphous threat seemed to be worth taking. In the early 1970s, after all, many researchers had made a similar argument against using computer models to forecast climate change, arguing that scientists shouldn't traffic in predictions. Others ignored that advice, producing some of the earliest projections about dire impact of climate change, and with them, some of the earliest opportunities to try and steer away from that fate. Trying to project the consequences of climate-driven migration to Oppenheimer called for similarly provocative efforts. If others have better ideas for estimating how climate change affects migration, he wrote in 2010, they should publish them. True. Since then, Oppenheimer's approach has become common. Dozens more studies have applied econometric modeling to climate-related problems, seizing on troves of data to better understand how environmental change and conflict each lead to migration and clarify how the cycle works. Climate is rarely the main cause of migration, and the studies have generally found, but it is almost always an exacerbating one. I believe that. As they found more closely, migration researchers have found that climate's subtle fingerprints almost everywhere. Drought helped push many Syrians into cities before the war, worsening tensions and leading to a rising discontent. Crop losses led to an unemployment that stoked Arab Spring uprisings in Egypt and Libya. Brexit even was arguably a ripple effect of influx of migrants brought to Europe by the wars that followed. And all of these effects were bound up with the movement of just 2 million people. As the mechanisms of climate migration have come into sharper focus, food scarcity, water scarcity, and heat, the latent potential for large-scale movement comes to seem astronomically larger. Correct. I think we're going to stop here. Even though it changed and throw off what we planned already, we only need to look at some European floods in the last year or two show that even countries who have usually good infrastructure can be caught off guard when things become wildly unpredictable. Right. So the best thing to do, instead of entertaining like this, eco-fascia idea, is to start dealing with the problem at the root cause, which is climate change, and which involves us getting off of fossil fuels, so on and so forth. You know my spiel. Alright folks, unfortunately that is all the time I have today. I do appreciate you guys hanging out here, and if you guys enjoyed the content, don't forget to hit the follow button on your way out, and join us on the YouTubes. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and of course thank you so much to the Benjamin P. Dixon Show for the raid. Appreciate that. Appreciate the subs, Mono, Cocter. Appreciate it. Thank you, Spread It Forward, I see you. Thank you guys so much for hanging out here. Thank you, Mono. Appreciate it. In some cases, we can't anymore. Yeah, I know. And be there streaming contact Chris Funk to talk about this stream. Hey, coming in right at the end. That's okay, Material Squirrel. At least you're here. I appreciate that. Don't worry. We're here Monday through Thursday. And Saturdays, don't worry. Don't worry, I appreciate you being here. Regardless. As always, folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love y'all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. See ya! That's okay, Material Squirrel. Just hang tight with us. We're heading on over to Dan Simpson. In case you want to have a look, yeah, whisper it to me. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go.